Pricing the surface, chill, waiting for him to call her. But she should have noticed, it was only August. The call she felt wasn't from the weather, was from his poison.
Welcome to season 3 of Manifestations Made Easy. I am Anjashi.work and I'm here to solve your issues about manifesting a specific person, how to manifest them fast, instantly, and whenever you want them to. So today's topic is how do you remove a third party. You see, third party can be anything. It doesn't have to be another human being or some other person who is in the competition or in the line for manifesting your specific person, the guy or the girl you want. This whole third party thing, it always makes me laugh. Like, for some reason I find it really funny, because I've been someone who has always been in these third party situations, because there was always this guy who I really liked, and there was somebody else in the line, and he ended up choosing the other girl because he thought that he was way cooler than I am, and I never had the chance. So probably I was one of those girls who you could call the duff, the ugly fat friend. I was one of those, and it sort of broke my heart all the time, because I thought that how is it possible that none of these people think that I'm good enough? How is this possible? Because every single time a third party situation, how is this even possible? So then when I stumbled upon the manifestation techniques and learned about the law of attraction, read about Neville Goddard, I sort of came to the realization that I had these certain beliefs about myself, the concepts that I had always had in my I always gave energy to in my head, like something like people are never going to choose me, I'm always going to be the rejected one, I'm always going to be somebody who's never going to be the first preference. And this broke me a lot of times, because you want to be loved and you want to be paid attention to, but there is somebody who is just not wanting to pay that attention. It sort of broke me down. And since then, that third party situation has been so evident in my life that I find it really funny when people ask me, how do you get rid of third party situations? Because I have been in those places where I couldn't get rid of any of these third parties, but what ended up happening was that I was discarded and I was trashed, because it doesn't really matter for some people. And now I know that why it didn't matter, because I had these concepts about myself, and I thought accepting crumbs from people is okay, accepting half-hearted behavior is okay, accepting bad response is all right, and being shouted at or being insulted in a public space is all right. Eventually, when I grew up, I had this low self-esteem about myself, that I could have dated anybody and everybody without even thinking if these people are even all right. I had not very good friends, because they were sort of, you could say that I manifested these opportunistic people. Now, I'm not saying that people are bad in this world. It's just that I manifested that version of them where they were too much into themselves. They didn't really bother about my wants and my needs. So now that I know about manifestation and law of attraction, removing a third party has been relatively easier. So for me, a third party is not always a human being. It's not always someone who has the potential of getting your specific person to love them. Third party can be anything. It can be a family situation, it can be a bad weather, it can be distance, it can be anything. So how exactly do you remove third party? You don't make an effort to remove third party. The only trick to master this is to not give any energy to it. Like I always say, that everything in this universe is energy. So the more energy you give to this third party situation, the more it multiplies. So it happened to me as well when I was in the initial phases of knowing my specific person. So I constantly used to have these fears about how he would not choose me and how there would be somebody else, and this person would probably get hold of my specific person and he'd dump me for this girl. Later on, I also had other third party situations where so many of his friends didn't like me. They didn't want him to be with me because obviously they didn't have any girl beside them. They didn't have someone as caring as I was. I ended up fighting with my specific person a lot of times because he was spending so much time with his friends without even understanding why he was doing that, because nobody wants to be with an insecure person. Nobody wants to be with somebody who is constantly asking for attention. If somebody gives it to you, well and good. If not, that's fine. You are your own person, you have your own life, you can go on with it. You don't have to wait for people. Eventually people come around and they are going to be with you. Stop expecting someone else to make you happy. Your happiness is always in your hands. So I've stood by this idea ever since, and things have been better. So how I did remove these third party situations, it didn't happen in a day. It eventually happened. It sort of, it came to me in my, you can say that I was just walking down the road and I had an epiphany where I attached meanings to certain things that happened in my life. So let's say there was a third party situation where his friends didn't like him to be mingling with me. So I manifested a version of my specific person who was more interested in spending time with me than his friends, and it turns out that he was enjoying a lot of time with me, and he was putting his friends at a lesser priority, and we were going out, everything. A third party can also be an argument or a disagreement that you guys have been in, and you think that it's sort of not really favorable because it breaks you down. Of course, it breaks you a lot when you don't find the kind of behavior that you're looking for, and there are these constant quarrels and this wear and tear all the time. Then what do? So basically, you see, when two people are fighting, one has to shut up. You can't be pursuing the same thing altogether. One has to shut up and one has to let go of that ego. In a relationship, it's very important that you communicate with your other half, and also there are these things that are said on social media that you are not the other half. What is wrong in being the other half? You are a full person, okay, you are an entire human person, but if I am to consider your specific person and you as one, then of course you are the other half. If someone is the brain, then the other person is the soul. There is no doubt about that. So don't fall into these traps of these poetries and these phrases they keep on sharing on social media, because honestly they just come from an area of lack. So you see that other half that you have, you can't be just fighting with this person, and in order to make the relationship work, both of you have to try at the same time, because apparently if there's somebody who's just letting go and doesn't really care if the other person stays or doesn't stay, then it just loses the whole point of it. There's nothing like that. And I've seen those cases where the third party situation was so very overpowering that I had been crying months after months because I thought I was just not good enough and I probably deserve to be unhappy for the entire life. But you must understand that the more importance you give to a third party situation, the more it becomes it becomes difficult for you to get out of that. So let's say if you're constantly thinking about how your families are against that relationship, then you will not be focusing on the other aspects of your life. So let's say your families are just against the idea that you guys are in a relationship. Now what do you need to do in order to get out of that situation? First thing is that you do not speak ill of the family members, because that is how you begin your perception. Like, you don't think ill of these family members, because obviously you want to be with this person for your entire life, and if you're harboring any resentment against the family members, it is going to show out. And since everybody is you pushed out, everyone is you pushed out, what happens as a result of that is the way you think of these people, the same way they come in a reality. So it happened with my specific person's siblings. I always had a fear because sometimes it happens that when sisters are too close to their brothers, they don't want any other female to be jeopardizing that relationship. I'm sorry, and they just want their brothers to be exclusive, and they don't want to share their brothers with anyone. I am like that too with my cousin, but when I first met his sister, then she was so very warm and welcoming. She was always talking to me. We keep on checking with each other on WhatsApp, wishing each other on festivals, on occasions. That's how it is. Also, his younger brother, he's a friend of mine, and we've been getting along really well. We kind of share the same jokes, and it's really amazing. So all these things are like, I just imagine that these people are going to be my friends and they are going to like me for who I am. Turns out that his sister was just of the same mindset that I had thought of her as. Like, she was this reader. She kept on reading books. She was interested to know things. She was a curious person, and she valued knowledge, the most important of all. She valued knowledge a lot, and that really blew my mind, because she was just 17-18 years old, and the way she spoke about knowledge, like, I can say that with conviction that I also did not have that kind of a perception when I was in that age, because she was speaking about knowledge like it's a treasury. She was speaking how knowledge is very important. Like, you might be good looking, but if you don't have knowledge, then you're probably a waste of space and time. She was explaining it to me in such a good manner that I was just left awestruck, that how is it somebody like her in her age can speak words of wisdom. And she turned out exactly like I had imagined her to be. Though I had a fear earlier that what if she doesn't like me, but since we bonded over the topics, I like reading and she likes reading too, and we sort of have the same interests in humanities and the social science subjects, so we were discussing about that, and we bonded really well. It was just an effortless exercise. We went for the movies together, we ate together, and it was really fun, because it was something that I wanted to see in my reality. It turned out so the thing that I want to mention about a third party is that the more energy you put into situations which break you down, the more they turn up to face you, the more you have to encounter them. And the only way to not let them affect you is to constantly affirm to yourself that you are deserving of love, and everybody loves you, everything works in your favor, the universe has your back, and it is always going to work things out for you. If at all there is a third party, or if there is a situation where you think that the circumstances are not in your favor, you count the blessings and you count everything that you have manifested until now. Because if your specific person is with you, and if he or she has feelings for you, then you have a battle that is half won. The other rest, you are going to win it now or anytime. It can be anytime. It can be today, tomorrow, at night, whenever. But it is going to happen. Sometimes the delays happen because that is the bridge of events, and you've got to keep patience for that. If you do not have patience in this space, then I guess you are not doing that right, because it takes a lot of self-control and supervising your thoughts in order to get these things working for you. So a third party is not a third party until and unless you think it is a third party, because whatever is energy, positive, negative, anything. And the more you attach importance to that, the more it becomes overpowering. You get crushed beneath it, and it's not worth. So that's about it. I hope this helped you. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.